What the heck was that? It, it, it didn't really answer anything except what was down the hatch. All it did was create more questions and more dilemmas for everyone. Just like, what? Ugh. I mean, like, watching it wasn't the best experience, but now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm a little more okay with it, but really only because I'm severely trying to lower my expectations with the show, because based on what happened here, I would not be too surprised one bit if all of the mythology and the supernatural element of this show does not get answered. Oh, I do believe we're going to know what happens to these characters, okay? Because even though I don't really know anything about the ending of the show, I do know that all kinds of people were left unsatisfied with it, but I do know that it was conclusive, alright? So, yeah, what happens to Jack, Kate, Soy, your Locke, Charlie, etc. I do think we're going to get a resolution on that, but when it comes to trying to figure out all the mythology for how these other people were there and why they act the way they do, I have like no expectation that that's going to get answered. And then like how we went from the island showing people visions of an object of big concern to them. Jack's father, Walt, baby Aaron for Charlie, although I'm really surprised we haven't had Kate and Sawyer do this for Locke. It's really not that unexpected what it would be. It would either be his dad, Helen, or at least the Ellen we actually see him conversing, because I'm pretty sure that the Helen that we saw in season 1 is not that Helen. Like, there's no way that it transitions to that. There's no. So, for Locke, it's either going to be his father, Helen, or one of the other people there on the island that he cares about. So I'm surprised that we haven't gotten any visions for those three, but like, the additioning of the thing that's causing like all those disruptions of the island is just a big black cloud. I really do not expect a resolution for that. Just to put things in perspective, how I feel about these things. Right. So, that hatch situation, well, I had kind of been spoiled that those numbers from last season might mean something, because of the first impossible quiz thing. You remember when that was a thing like 20 years ago, that kind of a thing? That question actually ends up mattering way into the show. I mean, the quiz's bit. And then what's the significance about 108? Well, simple. Add them all up. They total 108. Took me a while to figure that out, but I did. What those symbols mean when it's finished, I don't know, but clearly this is part of a bigger bit. Understandably, yeah. Because that end bit, that shows that thing was just a bigger network. Because it wasn't just that second hatch that they found detailing events of the first. Obviously, it was all those numbers, and then that winter station makes it clear that this is just a much bigger situation than we think. Yeah, it's really going to be interesting what happens, because once we get a little bit into next season, I think the whole concept of trying to survive on the island against nature, I think they're going to do away with that storyline entirely. It's just going to be the survivors versus the others, and then it's going to be how that island plays into this one big network, however that is. That's what I'm expecting from here on out. Um, let's talk about those other people. Well, there isn't that much to go on because they're still, being secret about it, even though it's clear that there is division within them, because the guy that was doing most of the talking, and then later it's revealed that that beard of his, at least, is mostly fake. He's just a front, an obvious person, because the guy that was held captive for most of the season, I'm pretty sure his name was Henry, he actually seems to be the real leader, or at least one of the easy spokesperson for the group, whereas that black chick, while she definitely seems to support the overall idea, don't come to our part of the island, you can tell that she does kind of care. It's not the hugest amount of care, but it's there. Enough to make her turn traitor. It's going to take tons to cause that. And then, what I think a lot of people miss is that the guy that had the fake beard, he actually shouted Alex at one point during this season. Alex was the name of the Diana's, or that's not her actual name, okay, but they throw, the European edge to it that I can never remember. Yeah, so Diana or Danielle is the closest English version, okay? So you know who I'm talking about, okay? I'm just screwing up the name. But Alex was the name of her child. And here's also the interesting thing. Alex is actually a gender-neutral name. Alexander and Alexandria. Who's to say that her child couldn't have been a girl? Now, obviously, I don't think it's the black chick. I think it's somebody else. Okay, but that means that there's more to play here, right? So there's definitely going to be some kind of a confrontation there, because no one is going to just sit and know that the two most important people on the beach and one of their best fighters are gone. They're not going to settle for that. Like, even if Sawyer had come back, do you think that he would have let them stay there? Hell no, especially since, I'm pretty sure that this show is trying to set up him and Kate. Now, I know what you're thinking. Whoa, wait. Him and Kate? Why not Kate and Jack? Well, it's obvious that Jack is attracted to Kate, because he did basically walk in on her in the shower, but because, he's a doctor, he's seen tons of people naked before, and also she wasn't showing anything. She had the towel, and she's, less fazed by nudity bits, because she knows that it was also a mistake on his bit. And then there's also the kiss that they had at some point this season, and then what happened when they got in the net. You can tell both of them thought about it, but it's the way that Kate was helping Sawyer when he was, recovered from that fever, so as close to a coma as you can be, but, still at least have the tiniest bit of functionality and awareness in that brain of his. Because normally when you're in a coma, you're just lying down, huh? So, it's that, along with, one other bit where Kate mentioned Sawyer, and somebody actually goes, wait, Sawyer? Yeah. I'm actually going to be willing to bet that if there's any sort of romance going on, it's actually Kate and Sawyer rather than Kate and Jack. They might try and put just a tiny bit of a love triangle in there, but even though the chemistry is there with Kate and Jack, if they were going to move that along, I just think that something else would have happened already, you know, like Saeed and Shannon, Charlie and, oh god, why can't I think of, Aaron's mother's name, Kate, Casey, I'm sorry, okay? I almost have a perfect handle on the names for this show, okay? Almost. Right. But I don't know, that's just what I feel. Okay, okay, that's what I'm forgetting. The departures of people. Well, getting rid of Boone last season, I wasn't that surprised by it, because one, I remembered from watching that season when I was younger, and two, the character just seemed to be there, okay? He and Shannon just tied really close together. It was like, I knew that they were handling those two in a way that one of them, they could have gone either way, just wouldn't have a storyline without the other. They ended up deciding to do Boone in that way, yeah. Plus, I've heard that the actor wasn't the easiest to work with, even though he has since regretted what happened. That's the vibe that I got from a couple comments I saw. So, yeah, getting rid of him made sense. Getting rid of Shannon, I didn't really like the way that they did it, and I felt that the payoff that they talk about in the special features for this really wasn't as good as it could have been, because I think what they wanted to try and shoot for, was this puts the tail passengers at odds with everyone else. But here's the problem. Once Rose's husband was found, and then that older chick who started following a romance with Hurley settled into the group, the only person that ever had any sort of tension with anyone was Michelle Rodriguez's character. So, that bit of, struggle that they were trying to get to, that didn't work either, given how, she has all those moments where at first Jack doesn't trust her, but then later on you can tell that he and Saeed, they both moved on. They hate the fact that she did it, but they know it was an accident. And just, yeah. Because there was actually also a little bit of chemistry between Michelle Rodriguez and Jack, so that's another reason why I wasn't really focusing on him and Kate together, but everything in the special features indicated that they only ever intended to have Michelle Rodriguez around for a season and change. Yeah, but it does kind of suck how, right as with the case of Boone, Shannon, and Michelle Rodriguez, right as flashbacks are adding just a little bit in there to make you more sympathetic for them, they just decide to off all of them, but at the same time, I bet a lot of you are thinking, hey, you were complaining about people being offed unceremoniously in Game of Thrones. You actually seem to have expected it. And I know for a fact they do the same thing on The Walking Dead. I don't know who except for one person, okay? But, I don't know, it just felt a little different this time, okay? But at the same time, we've got more than a big enough group of people to take care of things. Like, they can still do things with Echo, okay? Showing that he's got a hidden backstory just as much as everyone else, and right. Yeah, although it's a little bit of a bummer we didn't get all of Michelle Rodriguez's backstory, because there's still a little bit out there that they didn't fully do, because it's clear that the person that she shot in cold blood had a history and had hurt her before, but the catch was we never actually saw that play out. They still have the possibility of fleshing that out at the beginning of next season, but I highly, highly doubt it, because who would she have told? Jack's father? who, by the way, they still haven't shown the bit where he actually dies, okay? But there isn't that much time to do that because the amount of time that happens between when he has the falling down with Michelle Rodriguez and then immediately talks to Sawyer in the bar, who doesn't recognize him, by the way. That's only a couple of days from when everyone shows up at the, airport, even though Sawyer, I don't think, has had his bit where he ended up getting arrested and then almost kicking Boone, who also didn't recognize him. So they've still got a little bit of a window to have the bit about how that plays out. Now, of course, maybe they're going for the angle that they did with Locke's father, where Christian's father only appears to kill himself, but I don't think so. Why? Well, simple. Locke never saw the corpse. Jack did. But they never said what killed his father, Jack's father. Yeah, they never once said that, I think. Even the coroner didn't really provide details, if memory serves. So Jack's father still has a very significant role to play here. And that's the one character that I have my doubts about if it's ever going to fully be explained, because again, I have every bit of confidence that everyone on the island is going to get a resolution to their storyline, and then I also have no confidence that we're going to learn everything that happened to Clancy Brown's character, because it has to be the same character unless he's playing that general guy's brother/cousin. But unless the first one had mentioned having a relative, a show like this is not going to play that card. It's the same character. I have every bit of confidence. So I have no expectation that or whoever the previous guy was is going to be resolved. No confidence about that, as an example. Paul. The French woman Diana, they're going to resolve her somehow, probably just offing her at some point. But Jack's dad, that's what I'm unsure about. Because, like, they did explain what happened with Kate's mother, sort of. They didn't really explain how she got into, like, some kind of an accident that, limited what she could do, but I don't think they need to do that, honestly. They might, though. Because clearly Kate's been running for the law even way before Season 1. Like, they brought the Marshall guy back. And this had to have occurred before she even went to Australia. So, yeah. We still got some more to figure out from her. Even though the weird thing is they just keep adding to the backstory, making it more complex than you think. Are we ever going to get the full lowdown on the real Sawyer, not the Sawyer that we're seeing? I think we are going to find out exactly who he is. Like, was that his actual name, or is it likewise a false name? But, I don't know. So, yeah, there's just something about Jack's dad, because I think that he plays more of a connection to this than people think. Sawyer, Jack, Michelle Rodriguez, and just the generation gap. I wouldn't be too surprised if he happens to know somebody else in this big web of connections either, yeah. So I don't know, there's just something about Jack's dad. I know that was a big, long track on that, but I felt it was just worth discussing some of these unresolved things, what would happen and what won't. Who knows, because by the time that you guys see this, I'm probably done with the show, but I don't know, I don't have that much left in the backlog as of when I'm recording this. Okay, yeah, so it goes to show you, again, that talking about the first installment of a particular franchise isn't always that easy. But after that, oh man, is it easy. Time for season 3.